Hello, and welcome to Investigation Check, our regular interview show where we dive behind the lives of geeky creators to learn about their hobbies, passions, and the untold stories behind your favorite content. I'm your host, Joe, and I'm thrilled to have you join me on this quest. Tonight we have Guildmaster, content creator, resident Viking, Zach from Something Savage. What's up, Zach? How you been?
What's going on, Joe? Thanks so much for having me. This is exciting. As we don't get to hang out enough, so this
No.
is super.
All right. Well, before we get started, where can everyone find you?
You can find me at all the ones that matter. At something savage underscore, and then Elon Musk's Hellscape is a name that honestly I can't even remember. It's some variation of something savage, but I had to do something so weird to get it through that it doesn't even matter. But all the ones that matter: TikTok, Instagram, Threads, Facebook, everything lines up there
Right.
at something savage underscore.
All right, and I put your beacons in the chat so everyone can go ahead and click that and get all your links. All right, are you ready to dive in?
Perfect. Let's do it.
All right, so we like to start off with the origin story of all of our favorite creators. So, what was kind of your first introduction into geek space? Like, what kind of came first? Was it movies, TV, or was it TTRPGs?
It was actually I think my first like geeky interest was the Batman animated series. Was like the first thing that I was like, "Oh, this is something that I like a lot."
Okay.
And then that kind of evolved into um like a pretty substantial fascination with like comic books and like comic book based media. I actually didn't get into tabletop RPGs until my 31 now. I was 22, I want to say 21 maybe.
Okay.
So
So,
I was still pretty fresh. And little known secret, I didn't like it. At first, it was not my favorite medium of creativity. Um, which as a theater professional and an a choir kid, and you would think that that would wrap everything up for me, but I actually had to step away from 5e for like, I don't know, probably a year, and then like once I got back into it with the same people, I think we just all had a better idea of what we were doing, and then we're
okay.
like, oh, okay, we get it now. Like this makes sense. Because we were already all like massive like Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones and Wheel of Time and Mistborn trilogy fans. Like the love of like fantasy and like the genre was there. It took us a minute to latch onto the I think the mechanic side of it of like, okay, this is a story that you tell and this is how you tell it.
So I want to back up a little bit because we started with comics. What is it about the comic medium that really like drew you in and you felt an attachment to?
I think it was a combination of actually like finding out how many people work on a comic at once, like per panel, and all of those people working towards the goal of like telling a story piece
Okay.
by piece, whether it is um, the initial illustrator, the colorist, the person in charge of the text who has to decide how it looks, um, and there's some really killer moments in comics that I don't think people quite like push them aside as much nowadays. But like when I was when I was growing up, it was like, oh, comic books, come on. Like we want to watch what was popular as a child, The Matrix. Like that's a real story. Or something to the effect. But it's like I think as I got older, I was like, wow, like there is like people's hearts and souls are in these stories. And it makes it easier to like relate to the stories. Um, and I was unabashedly a giant Batman fan. Um, and defended to the death that he could beat anybody with enough prep time. I have grown up a little bit though, and I know that there are situations where Batman gets his ass kicked. Um, but really, just like having a physical comic book in your hand and just going, wow, like they did this. Like these people that are listed, they did all of this, and this is the product, and it's so good. Sometimes it's like it sucks, but like in a funny way.
Uh-huh.
But it's just, I don't know, and you could just spend hours like going through them. You know, there's a whole 2 shelves of my bookshelves that have like my uh like trade comics collection, and they're always worth going back through. You always see something different. I don't know, it connected on so many parts of my brain that I loved it.
So do you think that collaborative element to it is kind of what drew you into being into theater as growing up?
So the right answer is yes, because that sounds good.
Okay.
Um, the true the true reason that I ended up in theater was because I was always a choir kid.
Okay.
But the only reason that I stepped foot into theater was for extra credit in my college public speaking class, because that teacher had a theater company and he needed somebody to play. It was a guard, and I want to say the children's version of the Aladdin play. And he was like, I'm gonna be real with you, I need somebody. You're not gonna have to work that hard if you go do it in this class. And I was like, say no more. And then I did not stop. And that turned into a professional career for me for several years, which was so rewarding. Also, the Venn diagram of people who do theater and play tabletop RPGs is a circle. It's the exact same people. So really, I was destined to end up here. I was gonna be playing these games regardless.
Fair enough. So theater wasn't something you really thought about when you finally started getting into it. I know you said it kind of like hooked you. Can you think of any specific aspect of it that felt like it was really like pulling for you?
It was probably getting the opportunity to try really, really hard to pass off as somebody else.
Okay.
Because it almost felt like a challenge. Now there were roles where I was like, okay, this is my wheelhouse. This is not me acting. This is me being myself, but with a different name.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know. It feels almost like if I was able to like fool the audience, then I felt like I did a good job, and that was rewarding. Also, applause is always a great motivator.
Mm-hmm.
Have I ever? Applause always feels great. Unless you're the person who like drops a glass in like a crowded bar and then people start clapping, then that kind of blows. But it was an adrenaline rush that I think I have yet to replicate. Is like live theater and performing.
So I think I have a question I should ask later, but I kind of want to ask it now based on what you're saying. Is that kind of the reason why you shifted over into the content creator space? Is that like validation you get from people watching, and like the kind of the mirroring effect where you feel the energy coming back at you?
In a way, absolutely. I started content creation, like many of us, in the year of our Lord 2020.
Why? What happened then?
Well, you see, And I did not know that like a D&D side of TikTok existed,
Okay.
because the only exposure I had to TikTok was like TikTok dances and like for recipes.
Okay.
And I was like, huh, I'm all right. And then I think someone had sent, like, someone in our like home game group chat was like, hey guys, look at this. And I can't for the life of me remember who it was. It might have been Postmodern Bard. Um, one of his earlier videos, it was just like, the rogue does this and blah, and I was like, hold on, I know these words.
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute. These terms sound familiar to me. And then I quickly learned about building your FYP brick by brick, and
Fair.
I was like, I have the time. Let's do a little something. And then I did a lot of something for several years.
And now
and and now we're here. I've met so many of my very, very good friends doing this, which I think has been the real like the real treasure of getting involved in this at all, is like just meeting all these people that otherwise you would have never met. Getting to tell stories with these people. But it's crazy. It started as like this little like, oh, we can't do shows right now, so let's do a little something here. And then 4 years later, we're here doing so many things.
All right. So backing up, that first D&D game, or was it D&D or was it a different system?
No, D&D 5e.
Okay. So the first game that you actually played and that you didn't like, what about it now as a more experienced player felt just off to you in that moment?
I think I was interested and the DM was interested. I think a lot of the other people that were involved didn't particularly care.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, they were like, this is what we will do at this gathering that we would have been at either way. And so it was just, it was really hard for me to like grasp what was going on when I was the only one who was like, please tell me what I need to do to kill this goblin. I need to know.
So is it the same people that you play? The same people you play with now? Are these also theater people or no?
The DM is a friend of somebody that I met through doing theater. And then it was a bunch of my like my core old group of friends.
Oh, okay.
And who would, and we had to break it to him gently, and I was like, hey guys, you know how we like Lord of the Rings and stuff?
Yeah.
What if we did this? And they're like, Dungeons and Dragons, man, like, I don't know, that might be pushing it for like nerd stuff. And I'm like,
I don't know if that's on my nerd bingo card.
Yeah, I'm like, look guys, I know this guy. He's really good at this. Just let him come hang out, and we'll see what vibes. We're still playing.
Yeah.
We're still playing. We never stopped.
Wait, so there was the first game you played, and then and there was a year gap between that and when you guys started playing for real, or did you play for a bit there, took a year off, and then started playing again?
So we had two sessions.
Uh-huh.
And the other people were like, I'm good. And then I had circled back to my friend, the DM. And I was like, hey, listen, I have this other group of friends who are way chiller and want to give us a shot. So you want to do this again? And we ran the same as a starter set. Was it the first start? It was like the first part of like Lost Mines.
Okay.
And you could see the light in their eyes, like light up. Whatever. He was like, all right, how did you kill the goblin? And you were like, oh, Oh, I get it now. Okay, all right, all right, all right,
I'm
all
getting the
right.
meat
I
sweats.
see. Yep, I see, I see, I see. Um, and now it's literally all we've talked about for 10 years.
Yeah.
Um, every time I go back home, we get into another session of it. Um, it is fully permeated through every part of our lives.
So it's with this group that you kind of, thanks to certain world-changing events, get into the creator side of the geek space, we'll say. So that's when you start doing your TikToks and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. So we were separated. Um, because I was in a different state when the shutdown happened, and I was like, well, now I'm in
Okay.
this state until it's over. And so that was almost just like, all right, I have an itch and it needs to be scratched. How do I get more D&D? Um, and then TikTok was offered to me on a little silver platter. You like this? I'm like, yep, 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 yep. All right. Um, and I had been cosplaying off and on for a few years, and so I had a couple pieces in the closet, and I was like, we can make this work.
Yeah.
And then a couple heavily masked up trips to the thrift store, and we had four we had 4 characters. Um, and then it just kept going.
So of those 4 characters, like, how did you go about creating them, and like, what was the initial concepts you kind of came up with to launch what essentially is this massive platform you have now?
Well, nobody go look at the early stuff from 2020. We can all forget that it was there. Um,
That's why I'm letting
but
you talk
initially,
about it
I
now.
yeah, 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 yeah. Initially, I made like original characters of classes that I hadn't had the opportunity to play at a table
Okay.
because I don't ever played with one group. I had the one character,
Okay.
and so I was like, I'm looking at warlocks. All right. I see the appeal. I see the appeal. How about druids? Okay, yeah, all right. Druids are pretty cool. We'll do one of them. And then up to that point, I had never played a barbarian. Um, now I've played a lot of barbarians. Uh,
Why? What would make you want to play
yeah,
barbarian?
who knows? I like Smash. Um, and so I did a barbarian, and I think there's some I did a couple who will just never see the light of day again.
Hmm.
And it was like, all right, this isn't gonna work. That's all right. But also it was never done with the intention of it like becoming a thing.
Right.
I figured at some point, it might go the way of Vine and just kind of peter out. And I'm like, all right, well, that was fun for a couple months. Um, I had no intention of it becoming a thing.
Right.
And now, one very decisive character later, it is very much a thing.
So let's talk about that. What this character, for people who don't maybe may not know you, what is the character that kind of made you hit mainstream D&D talk and kind of those numbers really take off?
So that character would be Guildmaster Declan Cromwell. He is the owner and overwatching eye of the Stag and Sword Adventurers Guild, um, who was also never supposed to exist. But he was originally drafted in my brain as like fantasy world like everyman.
Okay.
And the early character design was like everything had a point. You were supposed to look like the starter character for every solo RPG in the world.
Okay.
Um, and it was supposed to just kind of like fit in where like other characters didn't.
Uh-huh.
Um, so I thought he'd be great for like duets and like things that like weren't necessarily clearly like class related. It's like, all right, you can put a fighter in anything, and you can quote me on that. Fighters make everything better. Um, and then I can't remember how I got to it. but there was a like rudimentary like graphic design tool that was like, I was doing a free trial or something, and I was like, all right, sure, like let's bop around here, and I made the like rough logo,
Huh.
um, and I was like, this is super cool. I don't know what it is. I don't know how this is gonna be anything, but like I saved it, I put it away, and then I was trying to figure out like what I wanted this to be. And I was like, everything, I was like, something needs, like, this needs a home.
Mhm.
We need to bring everything together here. And I was like, I don't want to join Tavern Talk because I'm not going to be as good at Tavern TikTok as everybody already is.
Okay.
And I was like, well, we have like all these, I was like, what about like some kind of like adventurers guild, not to put too fine a point on it. People can come in and out, and originally the idea is that the other characters would end up weaving themselves in and out and around. But I needed somebody in the chair. I needed somebody to be in charge.
Mm.
And this grumpy bastard that I had created fit the bill so well. And I was like, well, you're not doing anything. We're just gonna put you in here for a second. And he's never gotten up. That
Okay.
is where he lives now.
So it literally was
And
two separate ideas that came together.
exactly. It was
Wow.
exactly that. It was this exists and this is it, just the puzzle pieces were right there. And I was like, okay, here we go. And I grabbed a dining room chair and a tiny TV table. And I used force perspective to make it bigger than it was. And that's how it happened.
Wow.
And I
So
will say, in the content creating game, if you can find content that you can make sitting down, game changer.
always better.
Oh man.
So how what is like the how do you keep coming up with new content for something that seems on the level, like on a surface level, very okay? I'm a tavern. I'm the guild master. I give you the job. We move on. How do you constantly keep putting out new, fresh content for something like that?
Well, honestly, I think about what are the wildest things that could happen in a game,
Okay.
and then I put it. I'm like, well, it's happened now, and I've seen so many people that have like commented or like duetted, and they were like, that would be crazy, or they'd be like, something like this happened in my game, and then it starts that dialogue, and I'm like, okay, yeah, like this is striking a chord. um and it's I don't know, I'm sure there will be a day where I run out, but I hope the day is far away.
Mhm.
um and I've done everything that I've wanted to do, because the Declan character has very much become a very important part of my creative space. um and it's just it's great. So many people have jumped into the comments or into duets, um, or even just use the hashtag, because that was the idea, right? Is that like the Adventurers Guild is a place where any adventurer can show up and they can do whatever. Like it is a platform to tell your story or tell stories with your friends. um and seeing how many people have created their own characters to strictly be like a part of this, drafted their own storylines that coincide with what's going on. Um, it's it's honestly it's really humbling
I was gonna
because
ask.
it's just this little it's just this little guy that's been bopping around in my head,
Yeah, I was gonna
and
ask. How
it,
does that feel to have like that? What you've created in this space to be like so important to these other people that they're making content on it. They're writing. They're taking the time and energy to go ahead and write these storylines. Like, how does that feel as a creator? Like to you?
it's incredible because at the end of the day, it is an extension of that collaborative process.
Mm-hmm.
Um, whether that is what we all intended it to be or not. Um, it is that desire to tell stories and collaborate. Um, and it's done across I don't know, however many hundreds of people uh, across thousands of miles. Um, and it's frankly it's insane
Mm-hmm.
um, to be here with that, and I'm incredibly thankful. It is certainly not what you could have asked me 5 years ago what would be going on. But I'm so thankful that it's happened and is happening.
Yeah. So, what do you see as like the next step for you in this space? Like with this character, with this channel, uh, your TikTok channel, and what do you see as like the next evolution of your creative journey with that?
So in theory, the next step is having something that people can use. I have gotten so many messages and comments. Hey, I would love to put Declan or the Stag and Sword or um, like the guild in the in my home game. Um, and of course, the answer is always yes,
Right.
but it's always been yes. However, you want to make it happen, sure, go for it. Um, which feels a little, it feels a little passing the buck on on my own little brainchild. Um, and so I decided, yeah, you can do that, and I'm gonna make it so much easier for you. Um, and so I've actually started compiling stat blocks and lore and um, brand new monsters and magic items that you can just plug and play into your game, and you will have all the resources in theory that you would need to operate the Stag and Sword Adventurers Guild in your own world. It's not tied to any established settings,
Okay.
and so it can be in whatever city you want it to be in. Everybody can be from whatever town you want them to be from, but you will have the core essence of the Stag and Sword Adventurers Guild uh, laid out in front of you, and you can do with it what you will.
So how has that process been? Like switching over from essentially you being the face to now you writing on this project essentially. How has that process been for you? I mean, do you have a history of writing that this has been kind of like a evolution of, or is this a new endeavor?
Everybody who writes anything for tabletop RPGs deserves to be bought their favorite beer at their favorite bar, because this shit is so hard. um, but it's really really been cool. Because my favorite thing to do as a homebrew DM is homebrew disgusting stat blocks, and
Fair.
um, and they don't tell you this, but if you want something to have a really messed up ability, you can just give it to something,
You could just
and
do
they
that.
can't stop you. You can just do that. Um, which is
Oh. Uh, yeah, there's Zach. I think we. Right. I think we can. Can anyone hear me? If y'all can hear me, can you guys hear me? Internet. Okay, so it's something on Zach's end. All right, let me jump out to see if I can get him back. I'll be right back, everyone. Okay, I think we're all fixed on that end. All right. So we're talking about the creative side of you jumping over into writing and what that process is like for you. Did you freeze again on me? I think.
Yeah, I kind of go in and out a little bit.
Okay. All right. I think we got you now.
All right. Oh, that's better.
Okay.
There we go. All right. Yeah, it's been crazy. Because I'm sitting down with my own creation, and it's no longer me portraying a character, because I know what that is. I know what that feels like. I'm now essentially writing a script for somebody else to do that. And there is that little part of me that is like, I really want them to do it right, so I need to make sure that they know that this is the character. And so it's been interesting for me to like balance out the like the mechanics of everything and like what I think would be super cool. And then being able to like step back and be like, okay, we don't need this part. The editing will be the death of me.
Okay.
Because I want everything to be there. So I will finish one, and then I will walk away from it for a day, and then I'll come back and look at it again. I'm like, okay. 2 a.m. Zach Brain thought this was super, super cool. The light of day has shown me that maybe this little bit doesn't need to be here.
Fair. So first off, is it just you that is working on this writing project?
Yes, so it is primarily just me. There is one character that is inspired by the lovely Laura Tutu that she portrayed as part of as like part of the TikTok Deal With It, and she's a very, very dear friend, and I asked her if I could include her character in the actual writing of the supplement, and she was thrilled, and she has given me so much good stuff to work with.
Nice.
But primarily all the writing and formatting is being done by myself.
Okay. Where can people go ahead and find this supplement if they wanted to be able to check it out for themselves? And does it cost money? Is it just tips? What's the deal with that?
So I've been as I finish little stat blocks, because this project will probably go on for at least another 6 months before I'm ready for it to see the light of day. But you can check out. I have a Ko-fi in my beacons, um, where you can see stat blocks. There will be little lore drops. I've been teasing a ton of stuff on Instagram because Instagram makes it easy to do that. Um, and then there's some stuff that like I just can't hold in, and I need people to see it. And so occasionally there is the freebie of I really like this one and I need people to see it, and so that will go out. In theory, it will be up on Drive-Thru RPG when it is done and formatted and completely finished.
Mm-hmm.
Which could be 6 months, could be a year, but it is getting worked on every single day. It is taking up a fine amount of my time, and I have loved every single second of it.
So now that you found like this additional thing, like this next step, once you finish this supplement, what's the plans there? Are you going to continue to make new supplements? Or are you going to, or are you going to try and go into APs a bit more? Like what's next for you?
I've really enjoyed being in the AP space. I don't think they are my bread and butter.
Mm-hmm.
Simply because I just don't like I don't have the extra time to be in like all the ones that I want to be in.
Right.
Which is everybody's problem, right? We don't have enough time to play all the games we want to play in. I am currently in a fantastic Feywild campaign run by Jocelyn, Cleric on Duty, with Laura, the Native Way Pro, the Zach, the Knight Hospitalier, and we're having a grand old time, and that'll be a pre-recorded and then released in podcast form. I also currently just joined the Gleaming Wildfire on Cole Wolfram's channel, which is also pre-recorded and edited and released on YouTube. And I've been having a blast because it is just like getting to. I love playing games. I don't necessarily like care if they're streamed or not.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think some of my favorite gaming moments, I was backstage of a venue that I was doing stuff in, and we had a show that was canceled, and we got out and played some one shots, and it is I love playing. If you tell me if it's gonna be in front of people, super, that's great. If you just want me to come play because we're gonna play, I'm also super down, and so there.
What do you feel like the energy difference is then for those two? Like, because they are two different ways to play.
Exactly.
What is it about the home games? It kind of sounds like the way you're talking. What is it about home games that you love just a little bit more? That kind of, what about that energy that is like feeds you?
I think it could be the same. It could be the same thing that I get from doing like live performances.
Uh-huh.
When it happens, it has happened, and it is done.
Okay.
I will think about every single little mistake that I've made on a recorded anything.
Uh-huh.
And I think that can hold people back sometimes. You know, they want to go for something, and there's like, but if it doesn't work, it's gonna look real weird, and then it's gonna be on the VOD. And I think that can sometimes like hinder the energy in like a recorded or a like streamed game. Home games, man, you're just buck wild. You're just going for it. And if it doesn't work, people are like, hey man, that was really weird. Anyway, Strahd's here. So yeah.
So is it because you have the ability to edit on TikToks that you don't get that sense of self consciousness, right? That's the right word for that, right?
Mm.
Do you think that's what makes you feel a little bit more comfortable in the TikTok space than the AP space?
You know what? I have absolutely no idea because by all rights, I should feel the same way about them. I don't know if it's because traditionally they are less than like 30 seconds long.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but there also are takes that I will do over and over and over
I was
and
gonna
over and
ask.
over again.
I was gonna
Yeah, I
ask.
can.
Yeah,
If I
yeah,
don't
that's
like
my
it,
thing.
if I don't like it, scrap it, do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not inconveniencing anybody but myself.
Right. Hmm. All right. So, thinking of like some of the challenges that you faced as a content creator, like, is it the self reflection that is kind of the hardest thing for you to deal with, or do you find another aspect of this whole crazy content creator space that you find a little bit more difficult?
I think it's really just like knowing what you want to do, like what the end goal is
Okay.
for all of it. Because I don't have one. I'm here for a good time and hopefully a long time, but yeah, it kind of is what it is.
Right.
Like I love what I've done thus far. I love what I'm doing now. Um, I couldn't tell you what I'll do in 2, 3 years. I hope it's similar. I hope
Yeah.
it's fun. Um, and so I think definitely a lot of people get bogged down in the okay, but are we like doing things to further um further something else as opposed to like doing something because you thought it was cool and you wanted to do it. Um and all those have their place, especially if you want to do something like this professionally.
Mm-hmm.
Like as any profession, you do things that you don't necessarily love to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but for me, this is what I am enjoying doing now in my downtime and also the very, very, very late at night. Um, and I love it. I hope I keep loving it. I think I will. But regardless, if someday I did not love it anymore, I got so much out of it, so I can't really like be too beat up about it.
Mm-hmm. How much of like the audience feedback do you take into your creative process, into the product you put out there, and like how do you incorporate that into what you put out there?
So it's definitely a 50, it's a 60/40.
Mm-hmm.
60% being all the stuff that I wrote down on my notes app for the last 3 weeks, that I was like, this would be really, really, really cool. And then the other 40 of going through with, going through comments or like DMs or like it's just conversations that I've had with people. And it's like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Let's do that. Um, I've been very lucky that mostly the ideas that I have seem to resonate well enough.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then if they don't, they get lost to the ether of the internet, and I don't have to worry about it anymore. That's the thing. If it doesn't hit well, it doesn't get seen, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. So is that how you kind of stay inspired to keep creating this new content? You just whatever's popping in your head, you write it down. If it hits, cool. If it doesn't hit, fuck it, I move on.
Yeah, pretty much. TikTok is very much a spaghetti platform, I feel.
Uh-huh.
Um, maybe less so now than it was earlier on. So I remember back in the day, if you wanted any kind of traction, you had to post like 3 videos a day when we get the time to do that. And nobody got time for that anymore. But it's always like how does every viral video start? Nobody plans for it to be viral.
Right.
It just happens to get picked up by a group of people and they show it to a group of people and then the algorithm's like, hey, people like this. We should put it in front of more people. And they do that. So I don't know, I'm just content having the idea out there in a in a form of media that communicates the idea. Um, and I'll even, I'll circle back and go back and look and be like, what was that thing that I did? And I'll find it and I'm like, oh yeah, and then I'll write that down because then I'll rap on it again in something else. And I'll just be like, okay, we can do this again in a different way. Which I guess is plagiarizing myself a little bit, but I don't think it counts if it's yourself. So yeah, it's I like to do it, so I do it.
Okay. So what kind of advice would you give then to people coming up in the space when they're trying to figure out, like trying to hit that algorithm, trying to figure out what to do, or even just trying to find, like you did, your character that you can take forward?
Coming into like the TTRPG space, so many people are so chill. There are people who are not. And that's okay. Just pay attention. If you're attempting to build a platform, use it for something, but just, I don't know, play games, have fun. Like that's what all of us that are here now started doing it for. And regardless what happens between then and now and far beyond,
The end of the world.
that's right. That's what got us. That's what brought us here. And that's what I want to do. I would hope anybody else who comes into the tabletop space also wants to play games with their friends. Yeah, just, have fun. Don't take it too serious, I guess, until you have to. And then if you have to, congratulations. You did a very good job.
Is there any kind of like projects or collaborations or people you want to work with that are like the stretch goal for you now?
Oh, that's a very good question. Like I said, I've been insanely blessed to be thrown in with the group of people that I'm in with. Such a good question. You know what? I'll put it out into the universe. I don't want to play a campaign with Brennan Lee Mulligan. I just want to like do tequila shots with Brennan Lee Mulligan.
Fair.
And just let him talk at me.
Okay.
I know that's not necessarily like a career goal.
Fuck it.
But I feel like
didn't say career
I would gain so much from just
No one said career goals. I just said a goal.
just like some Espelon repo and Brennan Lee Mulligan being like, okay, so the thing about capitalism is it can always be the bad guy. Like, yes, I'm listening. Yes, I hear you. Right. I don't know. It's like, I guess when and I don't feel like I do a ton in the space, but like, I feel like you're always like less degree of separations away from like people that you consider like unreachable.
Yeah.
And then like sometimes I'll have friends who are just like, yeah, so I was talking to Matt Mercer and he was like, and I was like, well, sick. I'll be very cool about this and not freak out. That's very, very cool.
Yeah. It is a weird space that we occupy.
Yeah,
and
it's like you've been
right there.
You've been in the Marriott. You know exactly how close everything is. It's like, yo, is that? It is.
Okay, cool. Be cool.
I thought they would drink a different drink, but all right, sure. And then you just high five them or hold them like, it's like everyone's so chill until they're not. But like most people are just always chill. Like it's so much. This is not the space for like the high and mighties.
Yeah.
It's like we're the nerds. We're down here in the we've been down here in the
We're
nerd
in the
trenches for long enough.
I mean, this has been a great conversation, Zach. I have one last question that I always ask every person that I have on the show, and answer this however you feel like you need to answer it. What message or impact do you hope to leave through your content in the geek space?
Ooh. If you have an idea, whether it is good or bad, it is your idea. And you should trust your ideas until they've proven themselves not worth the time. But I think you should always grab whatever thread pops into your brain and run with it until you know where it's going. Because you could always be like just like one little tug away from something really, really cool. And the world needs really, really cool things.
Amazing. Okay. That's going to end it for our interview today. We're going to switch over to our Dicey Questions segment, which is where we roll a d20 and ask some random fucking questions, while you, the viewers, go ahead and get your questions in the chat. Anything you have to ask Zach, start getting them in there. I know we already have a few. I'm going to get to those as soon as we jump into that segment. For now, we're going to do Dicey Questions. Zach, go ahead and roll me a d20.
All right. 11.
What's the coolest homebrew thing you've seen or used?
Ooh. Coolest homebrew thing that I've seen or used.
If you don't have an answer, there's another side, like there's another question for this.
No. I have one. So I had a fighter character in a home game that is no one will ever know anything about. But I had my DM made these two like hand axes that were like a matched pair. They took up one attunement slot for both of them, and they were called Fang and Talon. And Fang, you got a free hunter's mark from, and Talon, you got a free true strike from.
Okay.
And then if you threw Talon at the end of your turn, it would fly back to you and do like extra damage to anybody who was standing in the way.
Okay.
As well as the person it was coming out of. And then I didn't get far enough to like they had like ascended features and everything. And then he was like, you've been like steady on the like dagger and hand axe combo, so like I want you. He made something so cool for me. And they just fit the character so well and like the fighting style. And I was like, this was created with like such care for like me as a person and my character. It's like my friend took the time to make like think these out, stat them out, and then give them to me to use. And it was so special and so rad because they did so much damage.
What are your thoughts on like an ascended magic item, or just getting like improved versions of magic items throughout the game?
See, I am a sentimental little guy. So the thought of like getting rid of like my weapon to get another one makes me feel so icky inside.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, no, this is my sword and it's been with me through everything. Which I will give props to Pathfinder, not only for being super, but like their system for like adding enchantments to weapons and stuff. It's like it's less go find this new item. It's more go find like a smith that can put this new like this rune on your weapon, and now it does
Yeah.
A, B, and C. Which I really, really, really liked, and have kind of like adopted in some of like my world building. And I'm like, okay, like don't get me wrong, like magic items are still out there, like they're great magic weapons. But like if you just want like I don't know, you want it to do like a D6 of fire damage, like yeah, sure, I can make that happen, and you don't need to like chuck away your ancestral family sword.
Not enough weapons that grow with you in D&D.
No, not there. I mean, I can't think of like any big ones off the top of my head. There's some that, like you get, and it's your, like that's like it, but you're also already like level 18,
Right.
and it's like, well, I'm gonna whack this around for 2 more levels, and then that'll be it.
Yeah.
As opposed to like I had a hard time when I went from like when I changed prop swords. Like I was like, oh no.
Not Timmy.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I'll never use you again. I'm not getting rid of you, but I'll never use you again. And he's still over there. He's just chilling in the sword corner.
All right.
So as a sentimental dude, yeah, no, I'd rather have something that grows with the character.
Yeah. All right. Roll me another D20.
All right. Ooh, 19.
Something you've created that you're really proud of.
Hmm. Hmm.
It could be anything. It doesn't need to be D&D related. Anything you want.
I did this is gonna be so wildly and incredibly off topic. When I was in college, I was a vocal performance minor, and I was not required to do like a final recital like all the majors. But I still had the option, and I just didn't have any of the requirements, so I didn't have to do all of the classical languages. I could do the ones that I wanted, and then any of the music from any of my 4 years. And my voice teacher and I put together the silliest recital of songs that I'd done over the 4 years. And we had to post like the like little like Zach is doing a recital thing like around the like music department, and like people had to come to these things, so it was required to get your degree, like you had to go to so many events. And I knocked some of these songs out of like I knocked the songs out of the park, but some of them were so like left field that you could just see people almost with like a reverent disgust for some of the they weren't super thrilled when I whipped out Shrek the Musical. And I put on like Shrek ears. They weren't super into that. But I thought it was hilarious, and so did my voice teacher. And it's still hands down my favorite performance that I have ever done. So that's gonna be my answer today.
All right. Then give me one more D20 roll, and then we'll jump into some of these questions.
All right. 10.
What's in your hoard? What do you collect?
Let's see, what do I have the most of on this shelf right now? It was Funko Pops for a very, very long time. And then I recently thinned that collection out. But I still have a fair amount of Funko Pops. I have a ton of dice. We all do. You can't not. I think I have more swords than like a person's supposed to have, given I only have 2 hands. And it's not like big like numbers wise.
Yeah.
Because it's like I don't know, what is it like? I think it's like 7 or so. But like when you have 7 swords, like all bundled in the corner, it's like, damn, that's a lot of swords for one person to have.
That's fair. All right.
It's like when you think about how many swords you can wield at one time, 7's a big number.
I mean, you could do the mouth. I've heard that works.
Ugh. Well, I remember being a kid and seeing One Piece for the first time, and like, Zoro showing up, and I was like, that looks so painful. I hate, I hate this.
That doesn't seem like that should work. All right, we're gonna dive into our viewer questions now. A bunch of
All
these
right,
are by the Native Way Pro, who's been hanging with us the entire time, asking some great questions.
that's my boy Richard.
What kind of videos bring you secret joy to make them most? Comedy, heartbreak, lore, etc.
The sad ones always hit so good. And the goal when I make them is for my friends Pyrea, Brynny Ursa, and Soft Goblin Girl to message me personally and say, "What the fuck, Zach?" Um, anytime I can get one of those, I'm good.
Yeah, nothing hits like a what the fuck.
accomplished. Yeah, I've accomplished my mission.
What is your reaction on how much your OC has inspired other creators and other content?
It's insane. Because like it's it's just me. I'm over here doing my thing, and then people are the fact that it resonates with people is incredible. Like I'm so happy that people are enjoying it. That it's maybe helping them find their creativity or influence their creativity. Like I said before, it's super humbling for people to see something that I've created and give the stamp of approval of like I would like to be involved in this.
Since you mentioned him, Brendan Lee Mulligan went on a rant once about it. Which is your favorite game night snack?
I don't know, this might be the end of my TTRPG career. I don't snack a lot during games.
Yeah, I don't either.
I'm a drink girly during games. I have a water and I have a beer. And then probably a Gatorade and then a backup beer. But I'm not a snacker. There's something about like the getting crummy fingers and then doing something with my computer or like touching my dice and like getting grease on them or something that I can't bring myself to do. I am very pro like mid-game pizza ordering. It's like we have somebody orders the pizza, we find a break in the game, we all consume the pizza, and then we go on.
Favorite pizza toppings?
All of them.
Okay,
anything but pineapple and anchovies. I'll put literally anything on a pizza.
fair enough. And this is our last question. Other than Declan, if money was no worry, which one of your characters would you love to full cosplay build?
Ooh. If we're talking like TikTok original characters, probably Grendon the Barbarian. Because I have such a sick like view in my brain about what that costume looks like. If I had money. And I think, and only Richard's gonna know what this means, but I think a full Kalnor Heartgear, who is in my character from our Feywild campaign, would be such a sick cosplay. It's a Rune Knight fighter, Totem of the Bear barbarian, and he's a brick shit house. And he's just so cool. He's one of the few minis that I own because I love the character design, but there's definitely things that I would do if I was able to just like fully customize like a costume for him.
What would you need for that?
Look at this mini real quick and see. So it'd be like dark steel, like thigh plates, some like real like hinterlands looking ass like fur lined boots, these big big steel pauldrons with like the runes like carved into them. If money's no object, I'm getting that like glow in the dark like blue paint stuff to fill it in. Because that's gonna be dope. His sword has like all these runes carved into it that are already like electric blue that looks so cool. And then there's like a half plate vest almost. It's like a leather vest that's like interspersed with like some plate. So you can like still move around a lot, and like this like big ass fur cloak. Fur's just so expensive, so it's really kind of a pipe dream.
Fair.
Even fake fur, like I feel like fake fur's gotten more expensive because people are like, oh, I want the fake fur because of animals. And I'm like, all right, well, why do you charge so much for plastic?
All right, Zach, thank you so much for joining me tonight. This has been amazing. I feel like we've dived into a lot of really good subjects. I learned a ton about you, and honestly, this has been an absolute pleasure. Where can people find you? What do you want to plug?
Yeah, so find me at something savage underscore everywhere that matters. I don't use Twitter, so don't worry about it. You can catch me at PAX Unplugged this year in December. Yeah.
See you there, baby.
If you see me on the con floor, say hi. If you see me after the con floor, please don't tell people what you saw.
We don't talk about it.
We don't talk about it. I was very professional on the floor. I can't say how professional I'll be off of it. But no, it's always a good time. Like I said, the supplement will be finished at some point. Until then, if you would like to help support the project, you can check out my Ko-fi, where I'll be putting sneak peeks at stat blocks as they get finished, and little lore bits, and even some like polls and stuff about like what people would like to see. So definitely check that out. Yeah, other than that, just keep an eye out. I'm popping in and out of more more streamed games and stuff. So I'm around.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us for tonight's investigation check. You can check us out next week where I get to interview recovering academic, aka Forrest. Me and her are going to have an amazing conversation, just like tonight. I've got nothing else. If you've got nothing else, Zach. No?
Let's wrap it up. Thanks for having me, Joe. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for joining me tonight, Zach. And stick around for the raid. And remember, love you, geeks. Good night.